Hey guys, welcome back to the Cheer Chats podcast. My name is Gianna, and today I'm joined with
Payton, and our guest in this episode is an old friend and teammate from my hometown, currently studying at NC State University. Cheering for a total of 14 years, she started her all-star cheerleading career in Sanford, North Carolina at Cheer Extreme Sanford, where I got the opportunity to be her back spot before she became a shark on Cheer Extreme Small Senior X. Since then, she has been on SSX for the last 5 seasons. She is a 4-time Cheersport champion, 4-time UCA champion, 4-time Majors champion, 3-time NCAA champion, and a world champion. She is one of the most infamous flyers in small senior history. Without further ado, introducing this week's guest, Miss Hayley Zahn.
Hello.
So, Hayley, thank you again so much for doing this.
Thank you for coming on.
This is amazing. I knew as soon as we had this podcast, I was like, oh my God, Hayley, like I need to text her. We need to have her as a guest. So if you could just tell everyone like how you got into cheerleading and like how old were you?
So I started cheerleading, I think I can't even really remember. All that I know is what I've been told because I was so young. But I was 5 years old, and I used to just watch my older sister with rec cheer. My mom coached rec cheer, and I was always attached to my mom's hip just watching her coach. And I would even like go out and like cheer with my sister, even though I wasn't actually on the team or anything. Like I was so young. And I just remember, I think my first year was with rec cheer, and I competed in like Myrtle Beach for Can-Am. And I remember like my first memory from comp is losing Can-Am and just crying my whole way home. Like that's like the biggest memory like from starting. And then I remember transitioning to Cheer Extreme Sanford the following year. And I was on U3, and my older sister was also cheering at Cheer Extreme Sanford, and she was on the older team. So my older sister was like what really got me into cheer. I would always like look towards my sister and always want to be on the older teams like her.
So would you say your sister really helped you grow a passion for cheerleading?
Absolutely, yeah. I always looked at her and I just wanted to be just like her. She was a flyer too, so I would always want to do exactly what she was doing. She also cheered for school too, so that like drove my passion for school cheer as well.
In those early days, did you have any other role models that really just like motivated you?
Absolutely. I think the biggest role models at my young age was senior elite flyers like Maddie Gardner, Erica Engelbert, like all those. I would literally wanted to be them so bad. I remember
the Fab Five.
Yeah. I remember watching Worlds on like ESPN like when I was like 7 years old, and I just literally wanted to be them one day.
So you started cheerleading for Cheer Extreme Raleigh in high school, and that was a 45-minute to almost an hour commute. How was balancing that, just being a high school student and making out to Raleigh to be on your dream team?
So obviously it's already a big transition from middle school to freshman year in high school. I feel like that was such a big transition, but also making that big change to commuting an hour away. It was definitely a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of homework in the car while my mom drove, a lot of staying up till 2 a.m., waking up early for school. So it was a lot of commitment, trying to manage my time and balance school with, AP classes and stuff. And just when I first got to Raleigh, it was such a big change. It was so prestigious, and I didn't know how big it was or how much practices I would be doing and stuff. So it was definitely just a big adjustment to it. And I just had to learn how to manage my time, understand that even though it was a lot of work, a lot of time, it was like definitely worth it. And so I just had to learn how to manage my time with assignments and everything.
It's like that North Carolina commute, baby. Like I'm from New Jersey, and I think Kernersville from here is like 20 minutes. So it wasn't far from me, but like when I was on Lady Luck's, and I'm sure people that cheer at Raleigh can attest to this too, like there was someone I cheered with that was from Roanoke, and she would drive like from Roanoke to practice. We wouldn't get out till like 10, and I think that's like 4 hours. I don't even know. But
yes.
Yeah, long driving in North Carolina is so normalized.
Well,
it's
just
crazy.
The same as any other sport too, or how you have to go and like stay with complete different families and different
the host family
states.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, so like obviously my hour to me was not big at all because there was so many people on my team, which was so new to me too. Like I have people on my team right now that live in Washington, Mississippi, Florida, like so many places that they just live here now, which is so crazy to me. So like to me, my hour drive like wasn't that bad. I just had to deal with it.
So when you moved gyms to Raleigh, where they have SSX, SMOX, Cougars, Coed, Code Black, and more, did you have your heart set on making SSX, or was it just like a complete shock when you opened up the envelope?
So when I first came to Raleigh, Kelly Helton wanted me to come to a small seniors practice. So it was definitely like in my mind, like, this is what I want. But I also, at the time I was freshman, like I didn't have much confidence in myself or anything. So I was really just, any world's team would have been great. I was just excited to be there, honestly. But when I first got there, it was a whole new world, honestly. I got there and it was 15 flyers going for 5 spots. And I was like, no way this is going to happen. Like, I'm going to make any other world's team, which is completely fine. I was excited for anything. But it wasn't a complete shock because I was like, I mean, I was asked to be here, but it was definitely like, wow, like, I didn't think my life would come to this. I mean, these are teams and people that I always looked up to when I was 6, 7 years old. And to actually open the envelope and be like, I actually made it here was like surreal for sure.
If you could join any other team, what would it be if you could go back?
At Raleigh?
Yeah.
At the time, I think it would be SMOX. I think that they like really dominated medium code at the time.
What about
for
like
sure.
if obviously not go back, 'cause I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think you would want to take any of it back. But hypothetically, like if you were to have gone to a different program, or like how you said people at your gym are commuting from different states and stuff like that,
Sure.
Where would you have gone other than Raleigh?
I don't know. This is such a hard question because there's so many teams that are just amazing. I think either Panthers or like TGLC, which is such a, like, everybody wants to be on TGLC.
You know those
Yeah.
TikToks where they like walk around, they're like, who's your favorite team? And it's always just like those
TGLC.
two, yeah.
Which is so valid. Or like BSB. I feel like they're
You
like,
would eat
dominant.
on that team. Yeah.
They're like, so their technique is just insane.
So your growth on social media has been exponential. I watched you as a little girl, and now I see you all grown up on my For You page and a multitude of different cheer fan pages. What did that look like for you and your family, and in what ways did that like change your life, or maybe how you had to go about the sport?
Right. Well, honestly, it doesn't feel very real to me still. But I think the first time I really like realized that I was like gaining a little bit of attention was my second year, which my first year I didn't really have a lot of confidence at all. But my second year, my coach like basically took a chance on me, putting me center. I mean, I was a 5th panel flyer, like moving to center my second year. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. So my whole attention wasn't even on what was on the outside or anything. It was just, I got to do my job. And so it still definitely doesn't feel real, but that year I feel was very pivotal for me. I mean, it was COVID year, like we didn't really go out much, so I couldn't really feel it physically kind of because we didn't really talk to people at comps or anything. It was very like online media based. But then like between like last year and this year, meeting people at comps really like feels so rewarding, and I can really feel it like physically and stuff. But there's definitely some negatives to it, like with cheer Twitter. Everybody knows cheer Twitter is so brutal. So the negatives, really, I try to stay off of social media as much as I can, but the positives are just so much better, and it really feels like rewarding, like meeting so many people and seeing positive comments online. It's like feels worth, whatever I'm doing is worth it. I feel very passionate about it, but I still don't really think it feels very real. Like I really don't. I'm like, I don't understand it at all.
You mentioned how a lot of the interactions that you have at the competitions have been positive and taking pictures with people, and that's been a large part of having your following for you. And so I was wondering if you could share maybe your favorite encounter you've had with fans, or if you want to go the other way and maybe a bad one you've had, and yeah, just talk about maybe a memorable story.
I'd say a big one is I remember meeting, me and May were together, and we remember meeting these two girls at NCA, and they were so sweet, and they were like, we're literally like the May and Hayley of our team. And I was like, we like took pictures with them, and we would talk to them for a while. And then this past, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I saw one of the girls again, and I like remember meeting her and talking with her, and we talked for like 40 minutes, I swear. Like we just kept on talking, and it was just so nice, like connecting to people through cheer is so cool. And just the fact that like I remembered our interaction from a year prior, and it was just so cool, like catching up with her, talking about just life in general. I think it was so cool. And I don't know, I think I've ever had a bad interaction, but my favorite interactions are like really young kids, and they just get so excited, and I think it's the sweetest thing ever. I loved like taking pictures with them and just talking to them. They're so cute.
To go off of that, what would you give as like a piece of advice? A lot of people, so the new like era, I guess you could say, of cheerleading is starting. So you have people on seniors like Alexa, and like those really young people who are coming onto these big teams and are starting to get the following, like Ruby Harden, like people like that. What's the one takeaway or the one piece of advice you would give to someone, or something that you wish someone had told you with the kind of following you've gotten? Because social media in cheerleading has never, this is, our generation was the first, I guess, brunt of it. Like it never really, like when Ryan blew up, that was kind of the start. And then it was like, oh, cheerleaders can get hundreds of thousands of followers, and like this can be a thing, and cheer Twitter, like you mentioned. So what would be one piece of advice that you would give to younger people?
I think the biggest thing is you always have to take everything said online with a grain of salt. You can never read too much into it, because especially on your Twitter nowadays, everybody's going to have something to say about you no matter what you do. No matter what you can do, somebody's going to have something bad to say and something good to say. So just don't read into it too much. Don't let it affect you. I mean, that's how social media is in general, but there's always going to be hate, but you just have to you just have to remember, this is just cheerleading. Like, we're just doing this for fun. Like, this is just what we love to do. And no matter what people say online, like, it's not always true.
So you just talked about your COVID year, but the year after that, I think, is when you had an injury. If you could just tell everyone about like what happened, like what that recovery process looked like. That was like what, your senior year, you were going to prom.
And the mental toll too,
Yeah.
especially having the following that you do.
I just saw you in like your prom pictures that your mom posted in a cast, and I was like, oh, poor girl. Like, wow.
So that week, I had a practice scheduled for prom day. And I remember all week I was like, I'm going to have 30 minutes to get ready for prom. I'm so stressed. The Thursday before prom comes, we're changing like the routine a little because it's World's Month. And I remember I was going into a round off, and I just heard something snap. And so I stood up, and I looked down, and my elbow was dislocated. And so it freaked me out so much. I was in complete shock. So I just put my elbow back in place. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, so I put it back in place myself, and I was instantly in so much pain. And then at the doctor, they told me that when I went into the round off and it popped, my bone fractured, and when I put it in place myself, the bone sucked into my joint. So there was like a bone fragment in my joint. Yeah. So then I had to get surgery the next morning, and I was in a splint for 2 weeks. I remember like the weeks leading up to Worlds, I was obviously in a splint, but I was like, please just put me back in. Like, I just want to compete. So like that was like the biggest thing on my mind, just not being able to compete. It was literally the end of the season. I wasn't even thinking about how much pain I was in. I was just, while I was sitting in the hospital, was, can I compete still? Like, am I going to have to be out? And obviously I soon realized that that wasn't going to be the case. So the whole month leading up to Worlds was definitely mentally challenging more. I mean, physically I couldn't do anything for myself, so that was a whole other aspect. But the biggest part was mentally realizing that I wasn't going to be able to be on the mat with my team. But looking back, I look on the situation a little differently, and I realized that I've gained a huge perspective for like the other side of things, and like sitting up with my coaches and not being on the mat has just changed my perspective on things. And it showed me like how important the sport really was to me and how much I'd trade. I see my team dying on the floor literally, and I would just trade that instantly. If I could go back and do it, like I would. Like I miss that feeling of like exhaustion. It's so rewarding. And then recovery, I was out for 3 months, and I just remember like itching to get back. The second I got cleared, I was back. And so I started with Suns. Obviously, I didn't tumble just yet. And then the recovery with tumbling was a lot more challenging because mentally all you can think about is what if it happens again? What if it happens again? What if it happens again? So it was really difficult getting back into tumbling, but my coaches were pretty patient with me. And it still is pretty challenging today. Like I obviously tumble now pretty like as good as I did before. But it still is always on my mind, like, what if it happens again? Every time I go into a round off, I think about it, and it's definitely mentally challenging, but I definitely look back on this situation with gratitude because I think it taught me a lot about how much I really love this sport and how precious it is. Like, it can really be taken out of your hands so quickly.
Obviously, you're in your super senior year right now. Did having that injury and having that Worlds taken away from you, did that motivate you to come back? Obviously, you did your senior season after that, but I mean, like, in the sense of doing it this year in college, was that a factor at all, or is it just that you wanted to?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that it was a huge factor because I feel like I got injured the end of my junior year. So my whole senior season, I felt like this is my comeback season. Like the whole season was me just coming back from the injury, proving myself. And so obviously when Worlds didn't work out the way we wanted it to, I was like, well, my whole season was just me coming back. Like I just need to have fun this next season. I'm not ready to give it up. I felt very unfulfilled, so I needed to just get one more in. I mean, I was only eligible for one more year because I age out this year, so I have to be done. So I was like, why not one more? Because, I got a little bit of time taken away because of an injury, so why not do it as much as I can?
So she's in her first year of college, everybody. How it has been balancing college and being on SSX?
It's definitely been a huge adjustment. On top of living on my own for the first time, which was huge, college is just so much different than high school. Everybody says that, but you really don't know until you're in it. A huge thing is I had to learn how to study and really like put my academics first because I think my whole life, I feel like a lot of all-star cheerleaders can attest to this, that cheer is your number one priority sometimes. Like school sometimes gets pushed to the side, but I had to learn this year that this all matters and I have to really take my time to complete my assignments, really carve out time to study. And I live now 15 minutes from the gym, so it's not a bad commute at all. So that's definitely helped because, I mean, before it was an hour, but I definitely had to learn how to manage my time a lot better than I did in high school. And I feel like in college, everything's a little more hectic. So I have to also prioritize like my mental health, my physical health, make sure I get enough sleep, carve out time to eat, like it was definitely a big adjustment, but I'm nearing the end of my freshman year and I think I've like gotten it figured out a little.
Have you ever considered possibly cheering for state?
Yes, cheering for state has been like something that I've always thought about since I've been a state fan since I was 6 years old. Like that has always been my goal. But it's still all up in the air right now. I don't really know what the future holds as of now. I think right now I'm focusing on my last month as an all-star cheerleader, my last month on small seniors. So it's all up in the air, but I don't know. We'll see what the future holds.
So you're getting to the end of your era. You said it was your last month. What is one thing that you really learned from cheerleading that you'll just forever hold in your heart?
Gosh, there's a million things I could say about this, but the biggest thing is how important it is to have a passion like this. Like, I've never felt so fulfilled by something than cheerleading. And it's honestly scary nearing the end of my all-star cheer career. Like, how am I going to feel this passionate about anything else, you know? But it's definitely shown me like how important it is to have that fulfillment. And it's also shown me so many things like discipline and work ethic. Like, it's, especially in Raleigh, it's showed me so much about everybody working towards one goal, how important it is to do your part and everything. And then honestly, the biggest thing is the friendships that I've taken away from this. Everybody knows there's nothing like the friends that you make through cheer. I mean, you make these friends and you all have the same passion and working towards the same thing. And I feel like that drive just brings everybody so much closer, and there's just nothing like that trust that you have with your teammates. So I think the friendships that you make are lifetime friends for sure. And I'll never forget that.
So I've noticed you started doing brand deals with Varsity. Do you have any other brand or deals with any brands, or is that something you're looking to start doing more?
So this is a kind of recent, but I also worked with a brand named Addicted last summer, and I think it's super fun to do brand deals and stuff. I also really want to work with other brands and try to branch out and see if I can make that a thing on social media. But I also am not super passionate about it. I'm not gonna make it my whole life, but I do think that it's really fun, and making those videos for Varsity, I just had fun doing it. So I don't want to make it a job or anything, but if it comes about and it's fun, then I would love to do it for sure.
You're currently undeclared at state right now. Well, I was going to ask if you would ever consider leaning in towards social media marketing, but you kind of just answered that. What are you kind of leaning towards?
So I came into state knowing that I wanted to do occupational therapy eventually, but NC State is an engineering school, so there's not many healthcare majors here. So I just have to find my own avenue to make it to occupational therapy. So I think I'm going to major in bio or psychology. I don't really know yet. And then post-grad, I will have to find an occupational therapy program. But it's only 2 years, and there's a few schools in North Carolina, maybe South Carolina, that I'm looking into. I don't have to figure that out for a few years, but occupational therapy is definitely the goal. I really want to work with younger kids or older people, just helping them. Yeah.
Obviously, we kind of talked about the social media marketing aspect and you kind of doing it for fun more than for a job, but people in the industry and people who have had the following you've had, like Maddie Gardner and people like that, have kind of have found a way to incorporate what they went to school for and brought cheer into it and that whole mix. Would you ever consider being a coach for at Raleigh or at anywhere you decide to go? Would you think coaching is in your cards, or is that something where it's I did my time and now I want to try something new?
I don't think that coaching would ever be something that I would go into, but I do think that it will be really hard to have cheerleading not be a part of my life. So I've definitely thought about picking other careers, anything sports therapy or anything. And I could be a sports therapist for a cheer team or any sports team. I think would be really cool because cheerleading is such a big part of my life. I think it would be super cool to make a career out of it. I don't think coaching is in my blood, but I do think that I want a career involving cheer at some point, but I don't know.
As you should. Thank you so much, Hayley. Where can people find you? What are your tags?
Hayley Zahn, everything.
Of course, everyone.
Except
anyone needs to know.
Don't go look for her on X. She won't be looking for you.
Yeah.
If you're hearing this and you're a hater.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you so much for coming on. This is really fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to follow us at Cheer Chats Pod on Instagram and Facebook.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.